Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are starting a fun challenge. So I actually saw this on Twitter. I don't use Twitter very much, so if you guys follow me on Twitter, you'll see I'm starting to try and post more. I have no social media, so I'm trying to get better at it, so bear with me. But anyway, what we're starting today is the 10-week coding challenge. So most people, the one I saw was actually like a 100-day coding challenge, but I can't upload a video every single day. I just don't have the time. So what I decided to do is a 10-week challenge instead. And the way I did it was I'm going to do 10 projects that are related to hacking. I'm using Python, and that's because Python is used a lot in cybersecurity, and I like Python. I'm already familiar with it. So I'll tell you this. This is what made me want to do this. First off, if you guys are liking this, if you guys want to see more of this type of content, coding and stuff, hit the like button so I know that this is kind of something you guys want to see more of. I'm just kind of doing this as a one-off just because I think it's fun. I'm still going to try and upload my regular videos. But anyway, basically, I'm a decent coder, but I don't do it properly. That's most people in cybersecurity. For instance, if I wanted to write something in Python, I'm just going to do it on the command line real fast, or I'm going to just kind of make a really crappy program that's like 5-10 lines, and I'm going to put it together and it's going to work, but nobody else is going to know how that program works. They're going to have to open it up and read the code. They're not going to be able to work with it. So I can tell you already, I'm learning stuff that I probably should have known, to be honest with you. But I've always hated coding. I've always hated it, like proper coding, I should say. I like coding where you make things work and do cool things, but I don't like the coding where, okay, this is packaged for somebody else to use. That's tough for me. So I actually decided to do this challenge for that. So this is the first project. This is the first week, first project. I just finished it today, and I gotta tell you, I've already learned a lot. There's a couple things that I learned, and I'm going to cover those. But the first thing is I've never used argument parser or argparse. I've never used it, which I probably should have because it's a really nice tool. But what you can see here is this is my code. I will tell you, I went to make this because I didn't want to just do things that I thought was cool. I wanted to do 10 things across the board that are good for cybersecurity. So I actually, being true cybersecurity, I went to ChatGPT, said, give me 10 things, 10 projects that are cybersecurity related written in Python. And it gave me 10 of them. Most of them have guides, so I am going through a guide. I'm not just doing this off my sheer dumb luck. And the reason for that is because, again, it doesn't help me to write the code the way I've been doing it because the way I do it isn't proper. And half this code is helping people use the program, which I would never put into my code. So that's really nice to learn. So let's go ahead and start with it. So argparser or argument parser, however you want to say, you can see that we went ahead from argparse. We imported secrets, random, and string. So what this does is it actually just makes it a little bit easier to work with. The secrets, so I'll show you guys. I actually went through and I didn't want to just follow a guide. So here's the guide that I followed. I'll put that in the chat. And the code is almost identical to it, and that's only because I made some tweaks and changes, and then I had to debug some stuff that I was doing wrong. So I actually reverted things back to the way he had it to see if maybe I couldn't do what I thought I could do. So I'll show you. I want you guys to see the process and see the issues I'm having so that if you run into the same issues. So number one, first thing I had no problems with the help menu. That was super simple, and I'm going to cover it here in a second. But the first thing I had is see how he has 4 underscore in range on all of these? Every for loop I've ever done, I've always put a random name in here to identify it. So I put, like here, this is total length. So I'd put for length in range or something like that, right? He just puts space holders here, which are underscores. I had those labeled. I had those written out with words that I would make sense to me, but the code wasn't working, and I was like, what is going on? And what it ended up being was I had the indentation wrong. So indentation is very important and something that I don't pay attention to as much as I should. So I had the indentation wrong actually. And then I had, I was missing one character, of course, because that's how coding works. So that's what was causing the issue. But because I already reverted these back to try and test that, I didn't want to go back and fix it. So that's why you're seeing, if you see my code and his, they're pretty much close to the same, but I did try to understand everything I'm doing. So I'll show you how I did that. So here is the actual the actual guide. And then here I went to read about each module that we're importing. So I did read about argparse, and I did add a few things that I'll show you. Nothing crazy, but some fun stuff just to make sure I'm fully understanding what argument parser is rather than just following his code. And then here's his code, and then here is the random one in Python. So I did actually go in and try and learn these. So let's go ahead and hop into what the code does. So first I like to show, let's see what the code does. So it's a password generator, right? So here we go. I ran it as custom. So you can see it's going to run this with whatever arguments I want. So first things first, I'll run the attack H menu because I want to run the help menu. I want to see what exactly can this thing do. So I run tac H, and look at that. I've never in my life built a program with a fully functional help menu. Okay, that's sad to say. I've built programs with, I've built scripts with some help menus, but I've never built one with Python that was this easy to do and goes right along with it. So I'll show you what I mean. So here you can see, okay, cool. We've got lowercase, uppercase, numbers, special, and total length. So what we can do, and then we have amount and output files. So this can actually generate a bunch of passwords for us. That's really cool. So what we can do is we can say, okay, let's generate X amount of lowercase, X amount of uppercase, X amount of special characters, blah, blah, blah. Or we can just do total length. So what I'll show you here is we go to run. And again, we're running customized because I just want to show you guys. And we'll say instead of H, we'll just do total length. We just want the total length of the password to be 25 characters. That's a lot, but let's do it. And look at that. We have a 25 character, completely random password. That's going to be secure. Okay. So that would be awesome. This is a completely secure. I would like to eventually turn this into my own password vault that I'm going to build, but that's a different project. So here we go. So that's really cool. So we see what it does. We can actually specify how many of each character we want in it. It'll still be random, but it'll just put that many characters in it. So for instance, if I say I want 4 lowercase, 4 uppercase, 4 numbers, and 4 special characters, it's going to give me 4 of each. It's not going to be 4 in a row. They're still going to be randomized, but it is going to give me that many of each. So that's the difference, okay? Now, the other cool thing is I can say amount. So let's go ahead and say run. And instead of we'll say 25, but we'll say we want tac A for amount. We want that to be, we want 10 of them. So this is going to generate 10 25 character long passwords. And look at that. Now, what I can do is you can see here that this is just putting them all together. I can actually change that. I could go ahead and say, I could go ahead and say on the amount, which is right, if I find it. Anyway, I could change that and fix it. So that's a good example of right there where I'm, okay, hey, look, I found an issue. I can fix that. That's an easy fix. You just have to add a new line character. So perfect. So let's go through the code. One thing I changed, so this is really cool. So argparser, as you see, it allows us to use this parser.add. So what that's doing, we said parser, argument parser, and we're saying prog or program. And this is directly from their site. So if you go through here and you go to argparser, all these are directly in this site. So it's going to give you a example. So here's the example, import argparser, right? And it's giving you the example. And you can see if we go over here, we can follow it perfectly. And you can see right here, core functionality, you need the prog or the program name. So the program name is password generator for us. The description, what's it going to do? Generate your own strong passwords. And then you can see I added the epilogue. Now his doesn't have an epilogue. You can see mine epilogue says, make sure to check out Stuffy on YouTube, right? So now when someone uses this program and they run it and they run the customized help menu, which is tac H, you can see at the beginning it says generates your own strong passwords. That is the description. And then the epilogue, make sure to check out Stuffy on YouTube. So you can see that that's what the different arguments do. Now, if you keep following along with the site, parser.add argument. So this lets me add arguments, which means something I can put into the syntax. So tac L for lowercase, tac U for uppercase, tac N for numbers, whatever. So each one of them allows me to do something. So you can see this name, this is something I found out. This name is important, okay? and I knew it was important, but what I mean is this is where I was missing a character. I misspelled uppercase with one P. If these don't match down here, then it won't work. Okay, so what I mean is this lowercase here, this uppercase here, this numbers here, that is what we're calling upon down here on password.append on CUC args or arguments.numbers. And then you can see there's the dot numbers. If that doesn't match up, it won't work. Okay, so here's our help menu. You can see it's pretty simple. Parser.add. It adds the argument, and then we say tac L, tac U, tac A. We can make those whatever we want, but those make the most sense, right? L for lowercase, U for uppercase, N for numbers, S for special characters. And then you can see, like, if you follow my code, I probably won't publish my code because he's already published it. But if you look at my code and look at his, it's slightly different. There's slight differences. Like his says special underscore characters or something. I didn't want to do all that, so I just put special. Just make sure they match up if you do change any of this stuff. You can see help, use the syntax tac L. That's just my description of what it's going to do. So really cool. And then the tac T, total length. This is probably what you're going to use most for this password generator, because if you use total length, it's just going to generate you a random password of that total length. Now, it does say here, if passed, meaning if you use it, it will ignore all other syntaxes. I put that there to make sure you know. If you do tac T 15, but you want 5 lowercase, you can't do that. You can't put them both. As soon as you put tac T and the total length, it's just going to generate you a random password. It's 2 different modules in here. So you could make them do it by just doing uppercase 5, lowercase 5, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. But that's just, if you do total length, it's just going to do a completely random password. Then you have the A amount, which is going to specify how many passwords you want to create. So it's going to default to 1. So you see default 1. We want to create 10 on the last one we did. It created 10. And then you see O, output file. This is just going to save it as an output file. So if you were to, hey, create me 15 character or 15 passwords and save it to a file, it'll save it to the file for you instead of just put it out there. So then one thing, and it says right on the website here, is right here, args equals parser.parse or underscore args. If you don't put that, it will not work. This runs the parser and places the extracted data in a namespace object. So what's it do? It runs it and places it into these args.numbers, args.length, args. All that stuff. It puts them in there. So you have to run this after your arguments menu. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Okay, so then we have our password list. This is the list that it's going to give you if you do more than one password. You see it's empty. We purposely have it empty because we don't have a password right now. So now we say for blank in range. So this is just a for loop. If you're familiar with coding, a for loop is pretty self-explanatory. For everything in this range, for everything that's args.amount. So everything in the amount, we're going to loop through. We're going to say if the argument, so for every one of them that is in the amount, which it's default to 1 right now, but it'll do as many, you want to check the total length, right? If the total length, which we have here, again, this is why it overrides all the other ones, because it first checks if you put a total length in there, then just skip everything else. Go straight to it. Okay? And then it'll just say, you can see, this is what's really cool about this, is look how much easier the code is with, if you're a coding person and you understand, the code is so much easier with this argument parser than it would be to do this normally. Number one, we used secrets. Secrets is another thing we imported up here. This allows it to basically use cryptographic characters, and that's beyond this, but that's why it's secrets, not like passwords or something like that. And it tells you that in there, and you can read about it if you'd like. So for this in the range, we're going to say total length. If it's got a total length, this is what it's going to do. It's going to say, take your choice, and it's going to do all of them, digits, letters, punctuation, and it's going to do that for every one of them that you put in length. So if you say you want 10 in the length or in the amount, and you want it to be 5 characters, it's going to do it for each one. So it's going to pick one of these, put it in there, just random, and then keep going to the next one. So if you put 25, it's going to, again, go through, pick one of these, go to the next one, go through, pick one of these 25 times. That's what it's doing. Now, if you don't pick total length, which means if you don't select the, hey, I want 12 character password, whatever, it's going to say else the password is empty, which again, we want it to be empty. So notice one thing here. This is password equals nothing. This is passwords equal nothing. The difference is the passwords is the list of passwords. The password is the currently generated one. Okay, that's an important distinction. You can change those names if they're a little too close for you. I almost thought about it, but decided not to. And then it's going to do the same thing. It's going to say, okay, for every argument you have for uppercase, which let's say I did 5 uppercase, go through and choose digits. Well, this is number, but for uppercase, choose one ASCII uppercase character. So for every one of them, choose one. So 5 of them, choose 5, right? So pretty simple. Then it's going to say random.shuffle the password. This is the random import that we did up here. Import random. And it's just saying shuffle the passwords. So it's just taking, instead of, because otherwise if you didn't shuffle them, it would just be a password of numbers, uppercase, lowercase, special. It would go in that order every time. So you're shuffling them. Then you say password equals, and then whatever the password equals, you're going to join it to this password here. So what it's saying is add this to the password that's currently there. And then you're going to add the password into the passwords. So passwords, which is a list, append, add to the end, password. So you take this password that you just added and go ahead and append it. Now, this is important. Why? Because of the fact that we have to keep doing this, we have to declare every time that this password is nothing, because otherwise it would just keep putting the same password over and over in before it did it. So, all right. So now then we can store it into a file. This is pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty easy written code. I mean, you can see it's not very long, but it's very useful. It's something I would use 9 times out of 10 because number one, the biggest thing with me is like if you go onto Google and say password generator or whatever, it's going to give you a random password, but you don't know necessarily what it's doing with that password. And what I mean by that is it could be saving them. I'm not saying it does because I don't know what those password generators would do with them, but it could be saving them and saying, you know, we've generated these ones and it came from this IP, right? So it could theoretically be insecure. I'm not saying it is because a lot of those password generators are just exactly what they are, password generators. But I would feel much safer if I had one sitting at my house that I created that I can use anytime I want on my box. I can keep it on a flash drive, whatever. And then I can have my own password vault where this is attached and this will generate me the password and I can put it in my password vault and I don't have to worry about it, right? And the nice thing is this password is random every single time and it's not stored anywhere unless I ask it to. So that's really cool. So that's it, guys. That's my first project for the 10-week coding challenge. I'm going to keep doing the coding challenges and I'm going to maybe change the format if you guys don't like this format. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I do like the to learn more about coding because I did learn about argument parser. I've never really used it. I did learn basically how to indent properly. I already knew how to indent properly. I just never did it because I'm so used to bash scripting that I would just freaking indent everything to make it clearer for me. And that's not how Python works, obviously, right? So I did learn quite a bit on this one and it's super simple, super easy. And I tried to purposely, this is the hardest part about this challenge for people that haven't been in this industry for a while, is trying really hard not to copy and paste the code. What I mean by that is don't just sit there and write it and copy it. Try and for each line, go through and understand what he's doing, why he's doing it. And then, okay, I got that. And then once you get 1 or 2 of them, like you can see, these are all the same. Once you understood it, this is pulling the numbers, this is pulling uppercase, put lowercase. There you go. So now you get it. Now it's making sense in your head, right? So this is really cool, really fun, and I think this is going to be a fun challenge. I'm hoping you guys all do it with me. I'm going to put his guide in below my videos so you guys can do them yourself. And hopefully you guys do this with me. And if you guys have some really cool, like, hey, I changed this in it or I modded this, hit me up below in the comments and let me know. And let's try and see something cool we can do with it, right? Like maybe we can add a couple of these projects together and see what happens. But that's it, guys. I think it's a really cool program. I think it's like, we can show you one more time we'll say, hey, we want character of 100, right? Will it do 100 character password? Look at that. 100 character password, completely random. Nobody can get that one. So hopefully you guys like the content. Hopefully you guys are liking this challenge, and we're going to keep trying to do this challenge, and I'm going to keep doing my regular videos, and we're going to start doing some walkthroughs. So hopefully you guys like it. Let me know. Thanks, guys.